Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the Jumper X68S, and when I first saw this I was super impressed. I thought, wow, this is a brushless tiny whoop for real, and you can tell that they copied a lot of the elements of a tiny whoop, and I'll bring one over here. This is one that I've had on my channel for many videos. You can see that they use the same plastic sort of transparent frame. You get the same style of props are the same size, the frames are the same size. This canopy here I think is a direct copy of the Inductrix FPV canopy, and they even have that little button here on top that's supposed to change your video VTX channels, but this actually doesn't do anything on this one. So I think this is an exact copy of that. But of course these are brushless motors here. These are the 0703 15,000 kV motors. And of course these are the 6mm brush motors here on the real tiny whoop. But what really impressed me, what really amazed me, was the fact that they were able to get all of this into this tiny package and make it brushless, because the ESCs are now on the same board with the flight controller, the video transmitter, and the receiver. So you got 4 of those things all into one single board here, which is amazing. However, I think that this product is flawed because while I was able to fly it for about a minute, I got a death roll shortly into my flight, the first time I flew it for real, and then on the subsequent takeoff, this motor would not spin up anymore. And I think the motor is fine. I think what's going on is that the ESC that this motor is connected to on this board is no good. So I'll just go ahead and I'll roll that video for you. It was very short. It did fly. It seemed like, and I only did a line of sight. I did not even fly at FPV.
Flies pretty well. Not very fast though. It's a good thing there's no wind.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Ooh, death roll. See that? Alright, so now one of the motors is dead. The one in the back right won't spin up. I'll have to continue this at another time.
I didn't really get a chance to get a feel for how it flew. It felt like it flew like a tiny whoop, maybe a little bit faster. But until I get a working product, I'm not going to be able to give you any more information about this. I will show you what's underneath here, of course. Basically take these 2 screws off. And then the camera is actually attached to the canopy here, and then it plugs into the flight controller board here. I'll go ahead and unplug this. And as you can see, there's no USB port. So the camera plugs into these little 3 pins here, and on these 4 pins you have to connect the supplied cable here. This goes to your computer. So there's a little USB adapter cable here, and then the other end here plugs into the board like so. And I mark the ground on this connector here black, and I think the ground is on towards the front here. So it's that pin on the left side. Now the receiver is actually soldered directly to the board here on these 3 pins. So if you're really good at soldering, you could probably desolder these 3 pins and connect a different receiver, say a FlySky receiver, like the RX2A. This is a FreeSky PPM receiver, and it's pretty easy to bind. It was not a big deal. You can see here that the little FETs here for the ESC is on the same board, and on the other side here is the video transmitter, also soldered to the main board, and is series of dip switches there to change your channels and bands. There's no documentation that was included as to how to change your bands and channels, but I think this is the same set of dip switches that were on the, I think it was the QX95. So if you go to the QX95 product page and download the manual, you'll see how to set your dip switches. That's how I set mine to the channel I wanted. And then on the top here, there's a transponder light as well. You can set your transponder signal with some, I think there's some additional dip switches right there, the little 3 dip switches there. Kind of hard to get to, but I don't use the transponder, so that wasn't a big deal for me. Now what I'm noticing is that the receiver is kind of shifted here, like rotated, so that these little pins can be exposed. Getting the connector to this on these little pins here was not easy. You have to be careful because if you bend those pins or break them off, then there's no way to configure the board at all. So in addition to this board having some sort of flaw with the motor no longer spinning, I think that the other problem that I had was that some of these, I think it was this prop and this prop, would fly off initially when I was trying to do a hover test indoors, and I realized that they're using these same props that are for 6mm brushed motors, and that motor stem is smaller than the motor stem on these brushless motors. So you have to use a little bit of CA glue to secure the prop on there so it doesn't spin off. I did that and that was fine. Once I did that, the props didn't spin off anymore. But of course this motor stopped working, so I can't fly it anymore. Okay, so I know everyone's going to be curious how much this thing weighs, so I'm going to go ahead and give that to you. Put the canopy back on top. Yeah, it's about 24 grams. The tiny whoops are typically around 20 grams or under. I think mine's around 20 grams. So mine's a little bit heavier with the Turnigy or the FS68S receiver, and there was added about 1.5 grams, so 21.3 for me. So these brushless motors are actually going to be more powerful. So this, should fly better than the brush setup. So anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. Unfortunately, I don't really have any flight footage other than that little line of sight. Can't fly this, and I can't really recommend this unless they can send me a product that's working. I think that what's going on here is that these are probably early prototypes and really not really ready for the market yet. They should have done some more testing. The fact that they were able to combine all of these components into such a small space and basically one board is in and of itself pretty amazing. But I think that the design might be a little bit flawed. Maybe they have got too many components on these small boards where failure rates are going to be fairly high. So I would wait to wait and see what happens with the product, to see how many more people have problems with them. I know that another reviewer out there had the same issue where the motor wouldn't spin up. So I'm thinking it's got to be an ESC issue on the board because it's such a new product and a new design. Whenever you have something like this sort of bleeding edge, you're going to have some issues, and I think this is what we're running into here. And based on that, I would wait and see what happens. I think that it is a pretty interesting design, and I think that there will be improvements in the future. And as they do so, I think that then at that point maybe we could recommend it. The other thing that I'm not too thrilled about, and just before I close the video, is that they put these motors upside down in here, and with the motor stems actually touching the ground when you take off. This is I don't really like the fact that the motors are exposed like this, and if they could flip the motors over, or the same way they are, like they are on the Dust X68, and then maybe put a carbon plate down here where the battery plate is, where the battery holder is. So there'll be another layer here where there's a carbon frame. It would stiffen it up too, because this is very floppy, and that isn't good for tuning and makes the flight characteristics worse. Plus it would protect the motors better. They would be inside the ducts and reversed and in a better place. I think that would be better for this design. So if they're looking at making improvements on the design of this, I would recommend that to the manufacturer of this. Other than that, can't really say much. I've asked them to send me another sample so I can actually fly this for real, because I think it has a lot of potential and I'm excited about it. But if it doesn't fly, what can you do? Anyway, guys, let me know if you have any questions about this. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'll talk to you guys later.